game number 3 finally ready to get underway between HMC and Vietnam Legends. Now, if you remember HMC, they took not only game 1, but game 2. Right now, Hera, Capoch, and MarineLorD are looking like the fellas to beat in this upcoming tournament. But here, in this $300 show match, hosted by Lidakor, shout out to him for that, there is still a chance. There is still a hope for the Vietnam Legends. They are 2 down, but they are not out for the count, and they will try to begin their comeback here on Boulder Bay. Let's get into the action. Okay, so here we go. Boulder Bay. It is going to be a Roost player on each side, a French player, but there's a difference again in this one. And this time around, it's going to be VNS manning the Abbasids. Meanwhile, it's going to be MarineLorD manning the Chinese. Now, this is what they like to do. We've seen this before. MarineLorD is fantastic as China in the 3-on-3s on Boulder Bay. He understands his role, and he plays hard into that power controller on the high seas. And he could very well have it in this type of game. But keep in mind, it will not start with him. It will start with 2 other players, as Capoch and Bact are going to be the 2 lads to watch at the beginning of this, courtesy of their access to Hulks at the beginning of the feudal age. But likely we will at least see this map being decided by the high seas. It feels like, especially in these 3-on-3s, although you can hold on, it's very, very difficult to come back unless you are already prepping for a transition. The times that where I say people can make a comeback on land are usually the games where they were already prepping for it, right? If you were just sitting on sea and you were fighting on sea and then you instantly lost on sea and you weren't already prepping an advantage on land, then you're just simply at a disadvantage, right? So we'll see how this goes. We'll see if there's kind of this identification by either side. They're losing ground on the sea, and then they'll choose to switch over preemptively onto a land force, because that could give you the edge to win this game. Because remember, the thing about Boulder Bay in these 3-on-3s is notice how much bigger this gap is. It's easy to sneak by without being seen. So you can actually flank and get into the enemy base without worrying about their sea control cutting you off at this choke point. In the early phases, how stacked are we going to be? I noticed that, yeah, they always do this. So Team 1 love to do this. The HMC boys always, which by the way, I just realized how fitting that is. If anyone knows about British ship naming, HMC is, I'm pretty sure, the name for HMs? Yes, it's the name for our ships. I just had to double check. Because it stands for Her Majesty's ship. I think. Wait, no, that's not right. What does it stand for? I know the Canadian one is HMCS, which is Her Majesty's Canadian ship. I don't know. Someone will remind me in chat. And I'll look like an idiot, as I usually do. But HMS is... Or am I thinking HMS? I might be thinking HMS, which sounds more likely. There was definitely some HMCs, though. Okay, there's enough nerdy talk here. I'm sure that someone will set me right in the chat. You guys always do. We're going to get to some naval history next. Because they'll probably be more interested in the naval history we'll get in this game. Because all we get for naval history in Boulder Bay is me Hulk, me Smash. And we will get there soon enough. Just give it a few minutes, kids. So, win conditions for these 2 teams. Considering they have a lot of similarity, the main difference is going to be VNS and MarineLorD. And I think the win condition for HMC as a result, with them having China at MarineLorD's disposal, is going to be dominance on the water. They're looking to actually just hard pivot into control on the waterfront with a Castle Age rush out of MarineLorD that gets access to the war junks. Remember, those war junks are phenomenal. Not only is China do you get to build your units out of docks 20% quicker, but also these war junks are easily comparative to the Hulks. The Hulks that, as you can see, end up costing more. 300 wood, 240 gold, compared to the 300 wood, 210 gold. But the war junks are actually better. They shoot 120 per shot, and the sacrifice, they have 100 health less. But you can see how that adds up, right? It actually adds up favorably that war junks come out ahead in one-on-ones and Hulks. So expect to see that being the occurrence here, which is why it's very important that Team 2 sets up a plan to fall back on land 2. Because they've got an Abbasid player. An Abbasid player is not going to help you here. A Delhi player would have been fantastic, right? Because a Delhi player could at least aggress across the map, could start to snipe out with fishing boats early on, cause some pressure onto your opponent's economy. An Abbasid player on the water, however, has this little thing here called a Bagler. Baglers should just be renamed to Badlers at this point because they are really bad. They are so terrible. Like, there is good suck. Like, damn, that sucks like a dice. And then there's like the kaputting vacuum that's 40 years old and just full of dust and looks like it wants to die. And that's the Bagler. The Bagler is incredibly underwhelming in the naval combat, especially when it's going to be up against Hulks and the Junks. So yeah, we'll see how they adapt on that front. Also, keep in mind, Marine, like, we're going to get out of Hera right in this game with the Roost. Like, he can just focus mainly on cannon fodder front and some boom ships, and he'll be incredibly powerful here. Remember that the catch with the Roost is that they have this initial value in terms of, like, their fishing vessels, which scales well, which is that they don't have to return to dock to drop off their food. But they have this very big gap in the functionality on the water. Of course, they've got that initial spike in the feudal when you convert a bunch of fishing boats into attack ships. Or rather, arrow ships to be more accurate here. That's just they're called modular attack ships. Someone really wanted to confuse players with that. But the problem that you have is if you aren't quick to utilize that advantage in the middle of feudal, like not in middle, at the beginning of feudal, you very quickly fall into irrelevancy unless you start getting multiple docks out and then tech up into these elements, right? Into things like the additional sails, into the additional health, so that you can actually move in quicker. And especially like the sails for the incendiary boats is a huge deal if you want to be able to gap close with demo ships. Meanwhile, cool play coming out of MarineLorD. So MarineLorD isn't going to invest in the Imperial Academy. He's going to drop the fort right next to their base, just giving them a safe fallback location, understanding that there is a risk this goes wrong when you're up against another Rus player and another French player. And I don't expect to see much in the way of a fleet out of MarineLorD. We can see Hulks already being built, and then there is going to be Lodger attack ships coming out here. But if I look across, yeah, you can see MarineLorD, he's just focused on the same thing. His role right now isn't to engage on the water. He's looking for the tech up. And that's the big difference that is going to put the Vietnam Legends at a distinct disadvantage. They have to move soon, or they will end up losing this game very quickly. And the problem they have is the Abyss's don't really give you an ability to move soon, right? What do they do here? Well, they're your greedy player, if anything. You can see at the moment he's starting to build into Dow ships. The Dow ships are not going to achieve much up against the Hulks. Meanwhile, Hera already moving in to try and snipe out a few boats if he can. Now being aggressed, we can see a similar move. ACCM actually sends in 2 Lodger attack ships compared to the 1, though. And it looks like Hera had more guarding close by, so they're going to start to engage here. Hulk needs to get in range if he wants to start firing here. MarineLorD is going to be finally up to the fuselage. Remember, he delayed this because he sent 1 or 2 workers out to build the Barbican next to the shoreline, which is a very long journey in a 3v3 map. And nicely done by my chat, doing what I'd always expect out of a chat, pointing out how phallic the Boulder Bay Sea looks. Once you see it, guys, you won't be able to unsee it. All we really need now is a fishing fleet from Team 1, gathering from this point here, and then going all the way back across the map, and then our drawing is complete. But I'm not going to focus too much on that. I'd say we could focus more on what the D move is going to be. And the D move is going to be the fact that because this Barbican Sun is here, even if you somehow took an advantage early on as the Vietnam Legends, how do you actually close it out is the real question. Well, they're going to begin by taking out one of the Hulks. Nice move there with the attack ship straight in. Pretty well played to open this up. More Hulks are starting to come out. Needs to cycle them round. Capoch is failing on that front right now. He's not cycling. Remember, if you rotate the Hulks, they fire much quicker because the cooldowns on these shots are different for each side of the ship. But in the meantime, a decent amount of ACCM ships have already been sunk. Junks are now coming out. So MarineLorD, because that pressure, because that panic, you notice that he now switches up and he gets involved in the waterfront. But he's still scaling. He needs to sort his goal, but his food is almost there and ready for a tech up in the castle. That's true. A lot of people do refer to the Hulk strategy as the spin to win. I personally prefer to call it dancing on water because it does feel like if you put one of those kind of nice, like, you know, ice skating songs on, it would really fit, you know? Right now, not really that much cycling going on. Bact also failing to do it very well. Almost feels like an old man has manned the mouse and keyboard here, which might somewhat fit. If I recall correctly, isn't Bact in his 30s? Which by esports terms is very, very old. 1990. He's 31 years old, guys. He's basically 1 foot in the grave already. He probably doesn't even, like, he probably wears a diaper when he plays Age of Empires 4, and that's why we're not seeing much in the way of spinning going on here. However, the count is looking good for him at the moment. Wraparound coming in, ACCM reinforcing quickly. Capoch, where is the army here? He should have so many more Hulks than this. Only 1 on the water. This is a big whiff coming at him. Junks are holding for the moment. They are very tanky, but these Hulks put huge dents in them. Attack ship's going to re-engage coming in from Hera. They need to get through the Hulks quickly. They're the big damage dealers they need to get rid of as fast as possible. They stick on top of Hulks on the side. Capoch, he's also suffering from old man syndrome. He's not cycling them at all. And also, because he doesn't have a second dock, he can't go ahead and... Did he get the sails? Yeah, okay, so he got the sails, but he's still not using them correctly. He's not pushing in. They're just sitting there. It's almost like Capoch is just staring at his people gathering from berries going, how did it come to this? I'm France. Where is my gathering on land? Because this makes no sense. The only good news right now is, of course, HMC, they've got MarineLorD up to castle. He's the only player to be there, and that means war junks are now coming, and 2 of them to be exact. And with you evening up the fight on water, and these hulks being heavily damaged, this is where things get very fragile for Vietnam Legends. So, no focus or repairs with the fishing boats. A little bit surprising. You could easily just boost these junks up to their front line. Hulk's moving in again. Capoch is on a coffee break. He'll be back soon. Preferably, like, soon as in 2 seconds, not we arrived at the end of World War II and took all the credit like the Americans. But we'll see if he gets there in time. One of these hulks almost down. The attack ship's doing a lot of work out of Hera. And here come the war junks. The war junks coming from the hunk. MarineLorD is ready to plow straight through the hulks. You've heard of the Hulk killer in the Marvel world. Well, here's the Hulk killer in the Age of Empires world, as they will sink them so damn fast. And look at this, the beautiful place, Hera. MarineLorD, he recently got promoted to president, it seems, because Hera is just nodding his head and like a Secret Service agent diving in front of the ballista shots, yelling, Mr. President, ensuring that the Hulks don't even get shots to finish off the low war junks here. And now they'll push in. And Capoch, after all that, because they were able to hold without him, he now has 4 Hulks coming in as their front line. And this is a spicy meatball, one that might be too hard for the Vietnam Legends to swallow. We'll see how they do, though. One of the Hulks almost down. Not able to get the final shot. 45 health. Gets away. The others are pushing out, though. They need to be careful. They are outnumbered here, and you can see it. The amount of shots coming in. One's going to be sunk. Second one soon to fall. That's gone as well. They're wrapping around, though. The downs and the attack ships come out to reinforce from the Vietnam Legends. More war junks coming in. They're going to sink these quick. These larger attack ships. They take, like, what, 4 shots to die, max? From a war junk, most definitely. Although this one is not spinning around. MarineLorD starting to fix that now, trying to get them back into formation. Remember, if you drag them back in their split, they move quicker to shift away, and that can be useful if you have one in too deep. Dow's not lasting long. Hulks holding their ground. Capoch, once again, seems to have disconnected his mouse and keyboard. We'll finally back them up a little bit, but still not cycling them at all. It's still good enough, though. Despite the inefficiencies, despite the fact they haven't been min-maxing with the Hulks, they are still running through the Vietnam Legends, and it comes down to this measly pile of crap here. Not only the fact that there's only 1 player in the lobby up at Castle Age, it's the fact that even if VNS managed to match MarineLorD and go up to Castle Age, what would he give? Bagglers? I'd rather have a boat made of paper, because that's basically what you're giving me. And these war junks are shutting them out. Hera now currently teching up Abby and Trinity, so he'll be in the boom ship soon. And they're already at your dock line. So you're going to be off the water soon, and that's when we have to get that important detail. Where's the switch up? We said we needed to see it if you were going to be forced off water. You had to know this was coming. There was no way in hell you were going to hold against war junks. And I don't see it. I see a few racks being dropped, but I don't see any forward push towards the land side of things. I don't see any forward base. I don't see any walling. I see nothing. And that has me direly concerned for Team 2 here, for the Vietnam Legends. These war junks, Hulks, both of them just siege through these docks so quickly. You can see they've cancelled all production. There's just no point anymore. They're trying to tech up as best they can. But you can see ACCM still not there, lacking on the gold front. Needs to get those people working with their pickaxes fast. VNS, nowhere near ready. Still needs about 400 food. And then Bact, I believe. Is he underway? Oh my god, no, he's not. What? His food right now. Bact has no food. He has ridiculous surplus wood, over 1,000 in reserve, but he has no food. This is worst case scenario right now. You can see the Knights wrapping around as well. It's going to count the Spears. And the Spears are a result of the fact that Vietnam Legends understand they're on the back foot. They understand they can't compete. Otherwise, there would have been Knights coming out. But you weren't able to actually afford Knights and Hulk, so this was your only backup option. And you had to understand that with you now losing the waterfront, you'd have to have this back option because you're going to be the ones running around like headless chickens as you get pulled left and right by your opponents. Like chicken strips, actually. So VNS is somehow still able to exist. I don't know why they haven't pushed through just yet. I think they're on their way, though. A fleet has been building, a fishing fleet. This is the one good detail in this game. ACCM, if you can keep hiding this fleet, remember, they don't need a drop-off location. They will just magically ferry this back, courtesy of FedEx Air, to their deposits, right? So ACCM is going to keep boosting his food income on the water still, despite the fact everyone else is sunk off. And it's unlikely they look for him here, because remember, once you take out your opponents, your first priority with these vessels, right, is to basically split them up along the coast to make sure your opponents can't get back on the water. Whoop, wall attempts are going to be a whiff. Hulk's in position. Nice try, sucker, says Capoch. And meanwhile, MarineLorD, he'll be able to complete his walls, so he'll block them out of the sacred site. They can now move in to force that victory condition. And when most of the dock's gone, this should be, yeah, there's the stationing. Capoch, one by one, just weaving them along here to block out their opponents. They should be scouting, looking for more. You can see the temple. Is that? No, it's just fishing boats coming out from VNS. He's moving with ACCM. So no look over here just yet. I do expect 1 or 2 to go scouting just in case this has occurred. Because if you get rid of all these, then it's a huge dent in ACCM's economy, which right now is actually stabilizing him, right? He's able to get up to Castle Age. Bact and VNS, 2 players for Vietnam Legends, are still not there, though. Bact is about to be, thank God. Took long enough, able to get there a little bit quicker with Chamber of Commerce. VNS, currently underway with the tech. Remember, he cannot speed this up at all, but he has gone for a secondary TC. And I believe he's the only player in this game to do so. China? Has China? No. Okay. So even MarineLorD, he's finally going for his second TC. Remember that he is currently sitting up in the Song Dynasty, so he'll be able to boom far past that of VNS here. Especially considering he already has the stabilized economy on water, right? With all this food. Oh my God, MarineLorD, what? Leave some for everyone else, maybe? He has, what, over 30 fishing vessels total? Must be. And there we go. ACCM's fun time will finally come to an end as the fishing fleet has been spotted out. And these dock attempts, while adorable from Bact, I don't think they're going to yield much fruit. You could, but the Hulks would probably die quicker than they could kill. Also, for... Oh no, Bact. I see what this is about as well. He wanted the transport ship, but they're targeting him out. This is painful. If he got this through, if he can sneak this through, he can actually block them from getting the sacred site, and it looks like he might have just got it through. By the skin of his teeth. Just about getting away with it. Meanwhile, on the land side, Hera beating ACCM on the eco front and now on the military front as well, as his horse archers are reigning supreme here. More damage being shot out of ACCMs, but he just doesn't have the numbers to out-sustain Hera. Now, this is good. This has at least bought some time for Vietnam Legends. They now prevent their opponent from capturing this sacred site. They can actually build a lot of crap over here. They're even actually building a dock line. This is the bad choice. You shouldn't be doing this. Your opponent is likely to scout here after seeing you break away with that transport ship, right? Which it looked like he somewhat knew about because basically one of his Hulks had attack clicked on you. So he's going to scout around, and this is worst case scenario. If you went inland and you built a fort, this is kind of cool, but now you don't even have a single dock. You've got nothing. And you have no hopes of getting on water now. You're locked out everywhere. You can see the walls going down as well. This means that now, before this, if you actually kept that villager alive, you built a keep after a long time, you would have had a way of preventing them from easily capping here. You would have delayed this. But now, all they have to do is get a transport ship out, send over a priest, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. They have control of both sacred sites. This is really bad for Vietnam Legends. I like this move out of VNS, by the way. So you're up against 2 civs that are likely to build cavalries, maybe 3 if you see the Yuan Dynasty come out and we start seeing fire lancers. Camel archers are fantastic against this. Remember, camels, they have that camel unease, so they make all cavalry units do 20% less damage, right? Or rather, horse cavalry. So these horse archers, when you're in range, aren't going to do that 14 damage. They're going to lose 20% of that, which is a big chunk, taking them down to about 11, 10, I think. It is camel riders, though. There you go, down to 11. And these camel riders do get bonus damage in this situation. I think the reason he's doing this, by the way, is because, like I said, it's more than one opponent they'll build into horses, right? And that's why he sees extra value. There is a risk to this, and we're seeing it right now. You're lightly armored. You might be 270 health, but you're lightly armored. And this is where it's very easy for them to snipe you out on the way in. And the reason that's important is if you had camel archers aren't your first unit in. They're less likely to be sniped first. And it means that you'll be able to keep that camel unease going. Instead, you've now lost the buff. And now with knights coming in, you might be in trouble. Spearman needs to be careful. Hera, nice side step there to dodge them out. Snipe them down one by one. And with the Knights here, matching up against the Camel Riders, the difference might just be the Horse Archers. Let's see if the Knights can last long enough, though. They have to cycle away. They need to wrap around under the Horse Archers, if anything. Hera continues to retreat away, snipes them down one by one. Needs more Horse Archers up here. He's got a bunch held back, and it's just baiting them out. Watch what's going to happen in a sec. They're too far out now. They'll be chased. So, Camel Riders going to be sniped out slowly but surely. Saint's Blessing should actually get engaged in a moment, but the Warriors Monk is actually distracting instead. And with the Camel Rider line now gone, now you're in trouble. Horse Archers need to run away. Remember, these Vet Royal Knights, 5 range resistance means that it's very hard for you to bring them down as the Horse Archers, compared to the measly 2 range resistance on the Camel Riders. And all you have to do is repel them like that. You never have to actually take more ground. You just have to hold it. And it's important that they take more ground because Bact, he's going for a 3rd TC here at the front of his base. No switch up just yet. I would love to see some sort of switch up. You need a few spears, maybe, something like that. If you can just hold back the Camel Riders initially, you'll pick them apart with the Horse Archers, courtesy of their lack of range resistance. But as it stands, this composition coming out from HMC, while it's not necessarily forfeiting the Sacred Site, it's maybe giving over a little bit more control than it should to the side of Vietnam Legends. And Bact, he did sneak a villager in here, so look at this, just setting up networks everywhere. Has a few spearmen back here as well, but it looks like Keep's going to get out from MarineLorD. This is a fantastic Keep placement, it has to be said. Covers half the approach on the top, and then also on top of that, guards the Sacred Site. Also, keep in mind, he done this. He went for the Great Wall Gatehouse. So all of his stone walls are so much more tanky. Not to mention the fact that they are going to be static defending, right? And we just said that they can't just rely on camels, oh, not camels, Horse Archers and Knights that get countered by camels. What you can do now is you can set up a 4 district and get ranged units on the walls. And not only will they get that bonus range, but they'll also get that bonus damage, remember. As you can see, nearby troops on walls deal 50% more damage. Second Sacred Site has been capped now, by the way. I think it's been that way for about maybe 2 minutes. And Imp Age is going to be tapped into. Second player to do it is going to be Capoch. MarineLorD was already there. And they are thriving. University already going down. Capoch now up at this mark, as well as the French. He could look to drop a Ford Keep and just build a military infrastructure around it, right? With that discount, that 20% reduced cost. I really love that MarineLorD does this. He does this a lot more than other players, by the way. The 4 temples, so he's able to quickly just build monks and drag the money into bank quicker, right? It's actually quite an efficient play overall. Because remember, the alternative is you build a monk and he runs halfway across the map. That's 150 gold investment. He's probably going to get sniped if he runs halfway across a map this big. Instead, it's much shorter of a distance to drop off. And it ends up being a situation where if you're building like 2 monks that are going to different relics, right? They're probably going to get the relics returned to you quicker because of the lack of harassment as a short distance and also being built closer to the front. Mangonel's now coming to play from back. They need a breach soon. Siege workshops are being built. Same with the Keep as well, coming out from the Roost player. Mangonel shots, good hit. Snipes out a big chunk of Hera's troops here. Horse Archers are heavily injured and have to back up. And I'm surprised there hasn't been a charge out yet. The Camel Riders aren't in position. They don't know that just yet, but Capoch might find out in a second. He might be forced to try and check. Here we go, Camel Riders coming in. And that should be a bail. You can't really engage anymore. Has to back away. Staggered formation coming out from Hera in the meantime. Numbers are starting to even up, but he still has the edge over ACCM here. Knights wrapping around under the Mangonels in the meantime, trying to snipe them out as quickly as possible. One is already burnt. Second one soon to fall. Might get one more shot out, but nice dodge out there by Hera as he starts steps to the side. And that's the Mangonel line gone. That's a costly loss. And your Camel Riders are still outnumbered. And they're not able to match up here, not against Elite Royal Knights. Even with the unease, these Knights hit too hard and have too much effective HP. And it looks like they're going to be pushed back. The Keep Crawl is going to be a fail. They have to settle for the one they placed down. High Armory half complete. If this gets sniped out, if ACCM gets prevented on this, it might just be enough to convince you you're tapped out, because that will mean that you won't have Imp Age and your French player's base will be exposed. And it's looking exposed anyway. Imp Age achieved for VNS finally. Mangonel is being built once more. Knights will move in for that. Say thank you very much. Second volley of Mangonel shots will come out just before they go down. But now your economy is exposed. It is, of course, not the biggest loss because Bact did go for the trip TC drop, so you should be able to replace it fairly fast. But it's still a nuisance nonetheless. You're losing military influence and you're losing territory with economy alongside it. There we go, Knights charging in. Remember, when they get close enough, they actually boost past the movement speed of the Horse Archers up to 1.94. Not able to gap close quick enough. However, the villagers will not be so lucky, and there's not enough room for all of them. Remember, this is an expansion TC. So much damage being done right now. Back down to 97 eco and falling. He only has 4 military units in total. They'll ride even deeper. Look how long it takes to focus down just one knight. And it is just breaking off more space than the push through. The Bombard army's now arrived. The Royal Cannons with the additional 20% damage, and then the Clock Tower Bombards with the additional 50%. Once they see that, and once they lose the High Armory, that is enough to force the GG. It is going to be a clean 3-0 sweep of HMC, and my God, this trilogy of high-level players are on fire. They are looking fantastic right now. I was surprised at just how quickly this was coming together. I'm not quite sure how much Hera and Capoch have played together in the past. But even if they had played a lot together in the past, as we saw in a previous 3v3 involving this team, where Luciferon and Vortex were on one side, even if just two players are really in sync, the third is still a wild card you have to essentially hammer in, right? You've either got to find a way to nicely melt him down and then smelt him into the fine art that is, or the fine piece of jewelry that is your team, or you have to get a hammer and brute force him in. And you never want to brute force him in. MarineLorD hasn't been brute forced in. It's just like he elegantly understands his role in these games, right? It's almost like it's clearly negotiated before the game begins. And I think that's the difference. It feels like when I watch a lot of these other teams, they very loosely must be discussing what they want to do collectively as a team before the game begins. They might discuss it more when the game is underway, but compared to what I keep seeing out of HMC, I feel like they actually have a clear lockdown on what they want to do beforehand. And they've discussed it in length. And they're also adapting and creating new strategies as they go. And it's really impressive to see. I think if we go into that tournament that has things like banning civs, let's say like a map gets chosen and ends up being Boulder Bay, I think against HMC you have to ban out China. I think MarineLorD is just ridiculous as China in these team games. He understands what to do. And also notice that when they're playing on Lipany, MarineLorD also always gravitates towards the Rus. He's very comfortable being in this Castle Age rush timing, right? He's actually the Castle Age boomer every game, if you noticed. Hera and Capoch play a more flexy style, and if there's exploitable ground, one or the other will take it. But overall, they're willing to sacrifice the early game to invest in MarineLorD's later game. And it pays off every time, right? Being able to put that much confidence in your teammate and it pay off isn't easily done unless they've proven themselves capable. MarineLorD is doing that time and time again. And these guys, it might only be $300 this time around, but with the way they're playing and with less than a month until the big Age of Empires 4 League with the 3v3 that Lidakor is going to be hosting for $20,000, soon they'll be playing for a lot more. And right now, they're looking like they'll get a lot more than $300 at that tournament.